Bunbury and Casey Bunce. Field's in great shape.
Richard Dotson, born in the year the White Sox won their last pennant, delivers strike one swinging. And the last World Championship for Chicago, 1917, when they beat John McGraw's New York Giants in the World Series. 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. Bunbury, 36 years old. Only Jim Palmer has been with this Baltimore team longer. 1-2.
The conversation yesterday in Baltimore among a lot of writers, sports-oriented people, was trying to understand and figure out why Baltimore has not played well in this ballpark, although they were 3-3 this year. The last 10 games, I told you yesterday that Earl Weaver manager, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, he lost.
Bunbury goes down swinging. Fisk runs him down and tags him as he didn't handle it cleanly.
Well, are we going to see another one of those curveballs like we saw last night from Boddicker? He threw him high fastball after high fastball, probably in the low 90s. And watch this. That might have been a straight change and not a curveball. He has tremendous motion on that pitch.
Dotson faces Dwyer, who's 0 for 1. He had a pinch hitting appearance in Baltimore. He's been with several clubs, Red Sox, Giants, Cardinals, among them. Breaking ball for a call, strike one. Dwyer will play right field tonight against the right-hander. Dan Ford started game 1 and Tito Landrum game 2 in Baltimore. Hit hard by Dwyer down the line and right, and it'll go for extra bases with Harold Baines chasing it down. Dwyer's going to stop at second with a 1-out double.
Dwyer, born and raised right in the area of Chicago, one of its suburbs. Cut fastball high and inside that he drilled in the right field corner. I'm sure he's had to leave a lot of tickets. Harold Baines, we told you his first chance he's had to do it. He goes in that corner very well and hits the padding. He really struggled in Baltimore with the bat. Baines struck out 3 times against Boddicker.
Big difference between the two ballparks down the lines. In Baltimore, a short 309. Here, a lengthy 341. But the ball carries well here, and especially on a night like tonight with the wind blowing out.
Power alleys are at 374.
Cal Ripken Jr. is 3 for 8 in the series so far.
That's what Don Sutton was talking about yesterday, that the Orioles are so good with a man on second base and picking up signs relaying to their hitters. They may do different things with their feet if they've got them. Crossover step, positioning their feet certain ways. Let's watch Dwyer. What Dwyer's doing at second base, he's getting an education. He will probably go in to Rick Dempsey and Joe Nolan, the catchers, and say, here's what I saw my first trip down to second base. They will try to decipher what Fisk is doing, hope he doesn't change, and maybe they can get some going later on.
Taken high and away, 2 balls and a strike.
You know what some teams are using is sometimes from their telecast. They'll take that telephoto lens from that center field camera, and they'll study the signals of opposing teams.
3-1. Murray will be next.
Ripken stepping out of the box to get his thoughts together, say, well, what do you think you'll throw me? He likes to anticipate. He may be looking inside.
He chops it. Vance Law at third. Held the ball and conceded the base. Dwyer is held to second, and Ripken has what has to be ruled an infield single.
Oh, looked like it hit right off home plate. Dotson sunk the ball. Ripken, looking for something up, was going to turn on it and pull it. Vance Law, we told you in the first ball game, diving for balls here. He injured his shoulder, and I don't think his throwing arm has come back yet. Watch him go and slide into first base, which is unusual. You don't get there quite as fast that way.
So Ripken is at first, and Dwyer at second with one out in the top of the first. Switch hitter Eddie Murray. 315 from the left side this year. Ball one.
If you remembered our ball game yesterday when Murray hit the last time up against Dennis Lamp, he moved off the plate, closed his stance, and hardly strided at all. Now he's back to his normal stance, up on the plate, slightly open. They want to bore them inside and up on his fist if they can.
In the dirt and blocked by Fisk, 2-0.
So he was 3-1 on Ripken, and now 2-0 on Murray.
2-0. This ball is really drilled, and see you later. When this comes down, it might be in a different time zone. Eddie Murray breaks out of it with a flourish. A titanic 3-run homer, 3-zip Baltimore.
They talk about the balls that are hit on the left field roof here. Look at Eddie. He knew it when he left the bat. Fewer have been hit on the right field roof. It's a little bit farther. Without that crosswind blowing out to left field, that may have been a roof topper. He crushed that baby.
Oh, Lowenstein takes ball one.
You know, I've seen Mantle hit him up there when we played our games in this ballpark. Tito Landrum right behind him. Eddie Murray. He got a fastball up and a little bit out over the plate. That will break their heart early.
He doesn't show all that much emotion. The smiles were much broader on the faces of his teammates than for Eddie Murray when he entered the dugout. Got the corner. 2-1 is the count to Lowenstein. John is 36 years old. He's been with Texas and Cleveland previously.
Show you again what Eddie Murray does to this 2-0 pitch with 2 men on.
A little Reggie.
Wow. That had to take a big burden off that man's shoulders. You just mentioned 0 for 29 in postseason play.
Here's how the inning has gone. Bunbury struck out, and then Dotson's problems began. Dwyer smacked a double down the right field line. Ripken got an infield single. And Eddie Murray really turned on one and launched it into the upper deck in right center field for a 3-run homer. Now the count 3-1 to Lowenstein. He walked him. You know, Richard Dotson had yielded only 3 home runs in his last 13 starts before Murray connected against him, and here comes La Russa. It was heartening for Tony La Russa, I'm sure, and for his family when he was introduced here tonight, Tony, because he got a rousing ovation. His job was on the line early in the year. He was booed by many fans here at Comiskey Park. And despite the fact that he is a Manager of the Year candidate, perhaps the front runner, it took an awful long time for the fans here to accept him. Apparently they've done so now.
Well, wife Elaine and 2 daughters stayed away from the ballpark for a while because Mrs. La Russa didn't want to have his daughter hear the local fans boo him. Some of the owners were a little bit reluctant to accept Tony and his managerial skills. Lauren Babe, one of the coaches, who's fought a battle with cancer and fought it well, the man who recommended him when he was a White Sox scout. And he has fought for him, as has Raleigh Heeman.
Singleton takes a strike.
Shane's in a hurry. He struck out Bunbury, got ahead of Dwyer 0-1, but he did double, then got behind Ripken and Murray, and you saw what happened. Now he's walked Lowenstein.
1-1 to Singleton, who has a pair of doubles through the first 2 games.
That White Sox bullpen now has started in action. When La Russa first went out, they were sitting quietly. Now somebody's up.
Opposite field, but foul.
Jerry Kuzman starts soft tossing. Talked by La Russa with Dotson, probably just to not have him deflate himself and just to keep his mind in the game and not give up. And I'm sure he said we'll score you some runs, but the way the White Sox have been hitting, who knows?
The White Sox, through the first 2 games, scored just 2 runs, and only 1 of those was earned. As it got in tight on him. Clicks off the bat foul.
Most of the fastball he has thrown have been up and almost out of the strike zone. When he's turned around and thrown the changeup, he's bounced a few. So he just can't seem to get the proper release point down in all his pitches.
Fouled away again. Lowenstein, the runner at first, at one time, before injuries slowed him, had excellent speed. He stole 36 bases one season for the Indians. But stolen bases aren't a big part of the Baltimore game plan. Weren't under Weaver, aren't now under Aldabelli. Pitching, defense, and 3-run homers. That's what Earl used to say. Murray got him a 3-run homer in the top of the first. This is a double play ball. Fletcher, Cruz, short. But not before some heavy damage is done in the top of the first on a 3-run homer by Eddie Murray. Another look at it as Eddie unloads.
Left-hand hitters or right-handed hitters, good curveball, and the straight change, a good one, taught to him by Scotty McGregor the year before he won the Cy Young Award in '79.
In addition to the batting average of over .550, Rudy Law has stolen a couple of bases in the series so far, and this after going 2 for 36 in the regular season against Baltimore pitching.
Todd Cruz way up in at third base.
A ball and a strike. Rudy Law is sporting, there's Cruz on the edge of the grass, sporting a new shorter haircut. His teammates asked him why. He replied, well, on a play yesterday I was thrown out by a hair. I don't want to let it happen again. It's by Murray, and another base hit for the sizzling hot Rudy Law.
Far Murray's playing off the line. Might have been a breaking ball that Eddie leaned a little bit to his left down and then couldn't recover to backhand it. But having to play it as he did, fearing the bunt, he may have lost a step or two. Law continues hot.
You pointed out from the very beginning of the series, Tony, that the White Sox game plan is to run or at least make Baltimore think about that threat. You think they do it even down 3 runs here?
Flanagan is not easy to run on. He will give Dempsey a chance to throw, so you never know, but I doubt it.
Not going on the first one. Fisk takes a strike.
Rudy Law, 27 years old today. Starts it off with a base hit. And another thing, his wife expecting a baby any day.
Flanagan chases him back. Law stole 77, establishing a new White Sox record. The previous mark of 56 had been shared by the great Luis Aparicio and Wally Moses.
Heapsight, former hitting instructor of the Yankees, in that funny stance looking over his elbow.
Fisk pops it foul.
Wynn's going to blow it back.
Murray leans but can't quite get it.
How about the play Schmidt made? And that would want to say Joe and Ben's game because it was the Dodgers against the Phillies when he took it away from that fan. Wind starts drifting it. Eddie Murray finds the railing in front of the camera well. Comes pretty close. Look at the hustle of Jim Evans right over to make sure he didn't trap it against the fan or catch it on the bounce.
Jimmy Leland, the third base coach. Dave Nelson, the coach at first. Not going. Popped up again. Murray and Dempsey both back, and Dempsey has it glance off his glove, and no, says the plate umpire, Nick Bremigan. He came up with it, but Bremigan says it hit the side of the railing first.
You can see the wind effect on those last two pop-ups. Blowing, well, pretty briskly out to left field, and Dempsey got fooled. Now he tries to backtrack, pops off his glove, and then he tries to say to Bremigan, I caught it before it dropped, and Nick's right there. Look at Dempsey. Finds the ball, holds his mask, throws it behind him. I'll tell you, the umpire's worth watching as much as Dempsey on this one.
That's a tough error. They have charged him with an error on that play. Well, that's hard to believe. Fisk hits it off the fists, and this one looks like it will be playable for Cruz. He has it.
Take a look at the defense behind Mike Flanagan. Dempsey, who should have been in that, well, the booth where they interviewed people after the game yesterday. Murray at first base. Now he'll be at second base. Shortstop Ripken. Todd Cruz, he's played a good first two ball games at third. Show the outfield momentarily.
Here's Pachorik. Ball one to him. Pachorik closed the season batting .437 in the last month, and he's 3 for 7 at .429 in this series so far. It's Lowenstein, Bunbury, and Dwyer. Left to right in the Baltimore outfield.
Man at the plate right now might be the smartest hitter on this ball club. You get the 2 strikes and drive the ball to right field.
This one is into right field with Dwyer in pursuit. 2 gone. Salah opened with a single, but he's remained anchored to first base.
Those 2 pop-ups that we saw that Dempsey chased and Murray gave the other players on the field a little education. They saw the wind factor, what it was doing up high, and they've adjusted.
The bull, they had him climb up on top of the roof and pose for a poster holding 3 baseballs, symbolic of the 3 he blasted over that Comiskey Park roof in left field during the season. It's a hot item at the souvenir stands here. Strike call. That roof is some 70 feet high, and it's estimated at the point where the 3 blasts left that it's about 475 feet from home plate. Took something off, had him out in front.
Flanagan can stay out there with a fastball. That was the first pitch, running it away from right-handers on the outside corner, and then the changeup, same spot all day long. He'll throw that hard curve inside, and if he sees you leaning over, he'll cut a fastball on occasion and bust you on the fist, just to keep you honest.
Dempsey had to reach out and save it. 1-2.
I'd say that was not an easy game that Dempsey caught yesterday. 14 strikeouts, and a lot of those strikeouts on breaking balls. That'll make a catcher work.
Off-speed pitch, 2-2. Struck him out. So a leadoff single by Rudy Law, but he's left stranded at first. And at the end of one complete at Comiskey Park, on the strength of a 3-run Eddie Murray homer, it's 3-zip O's. He was a lawyer. Miller Huggins, who managed the Murderers Row Yankee teams in the 1920s, was an attorney. Dower leads off. Chops it to Vance Law, who throws him out.
The last two pitches that Dotson threw to Singleton when he got the double play to end the first were the kind of fastballs that Fisk wants him to throw. He turned them over a little bit, may have gone to two seams, and his ball sinks well when it's down. So he got in a little bit of a groove, so he's thrown 3 pretty good pitches in a row, getting ground ball outs.
Todd Cruz hit just 199 for the season, splitting time between the Mariners and the Orioles. And he struck out over 100 times in less than 500 at-bats. Big swing and a miss. Count holding.
Now wondering, between innings, I'm going to ask Don Sutton about it. When Dotson was having trouble in that first inning riding his fastball high, I wonder if the fastball high made him throw the changeup low, or vice versa. By throwing the changeup maybe awkwardly a different release point, bounce the changeup if that caused the fastball. Now they haven't thrown any changeups in this inning. He's had the fastball in a pretty good area. Too scientific for me to try and figure out, so I'll check with Sutton.
1-2 pitch. Off-speed pitch, swung on and missed for strike 3, and it's the second strikeout recorded by Dotson.
Good low plate angle. There's the slurve. You could almost pick up the rotation of the ball like that shot we had of Bodeker's sidearm curveball yesterday to Lazinski.
Rick Dempsey. He's perhaps the biggest ham on this Oriole ball club. During rain delays, he's been known to come out on the field and imitate other players, delight the crowd. His parents were vaudevillians. They made it to Broadway in a show called The Song of Norway. His mom was the Coppertone girl, not the baby, but the pretty blonde on the poster, famous poster or billboard at the corner of Hollywood and Vine in the late 1940s. Last night's hero.
And right to his left, Storm Davis, 3 years out of high school, will be the starting pitcher in tomorrow night's ball game, or tomorrow afternoon's ball game. Storm Davis against left-hander Britt Burns. They can wipe you out if they're right, I'll tell you that.
2-1 pitch. 3-1.
With so much advice from Early Wynn, as we told you, Don Drysdale, pitching coach Dave Duncan, I think sometimes too much information, too many different theories gets confusing. He's had it straightened out pretty much over the last 2 months.
Dempsey draws a 2-out walk, and it brings Al Bunbury to the plate.
Bob, before tonight's ball game started, you want to hear how dominant the pitching's been in the League Championship Series. Dodgers, through their first 3 games, have a team batting average of 179. The Phillies, on the strength of their 7 runs today, went up to 202. White Sox are at 190 before tonight, and Baltimore 177. I'll tell you something about the quality of pitching that's been seen in National and American League so far.
First one to Bunbury, taken for ball 1, and in the space of less than 24 hours, a couple of pitchers who began the year in the minors were heroes. Bodeker for Baltimore. And then in Philadelphia today, Hudson for the Phillies.
Quick move by Dotson. He's a good fielder. Bodeker was too last night. He really pounced on the ball in the 9th inning.
Bunbury checks his swing and taps it foul. 1-1.
nice straight change he just fooled Bunbury with on the last pitch. Dotson always had the good curveball, and then he started messing around with the slider. And it's not uncommon because one is thrown with a relative stiff wrist, the other you kind of, I don't want to say sloppy wrist, but flip it. And he lost his good curve.
Down the line in left field, trouble if it's fair, and it is. They're waving Dempsey home. The relay man is Law. Fisk's tag. He beat it.
Scott Fletcher was jumping up and down, very, very irritated with Ron Kittle, the left fielder, because Fletcher went out for the relay, was waving his hands, and because Kittle threw a rain blow, overthrew Fletcher, it took just a couple of more strides. It gave a couple of more strides to the runner, and they missed him. Fletcher had a couple of harsh words for Kittle. See if we can pick it up. Ball pops up high. Fletcher's gone out down the line. He's the cutoff man to get the relay. Look at the balloon throw. Look at Fletcher. You can see his reaction. Now Banslaw still just misses him, and they gave the runner a couple of extra strides. Here's Dempsey, a catcher, but watch him cut the bags. Pow, hits it with the left foot, stumbles a little bit. You see Ripken get out of the way, so he didn't touch him. Unlike Hiller from the Cardinals, who almost picked the runner up.
Dwyer doubled to start the 3-run rally in the first, and he takes a strike. The umpire down the left field line is Jim McKean. He was right on the play. There he is, and that ball by Bunbury was fair by a foot or less. So it's 4-0 Baltimore, and Bunbury is at second after the RBI double.
White Sox bullpen starts going once more. Koosman again.
Older than his manager, Jerry Koosman. Tapped in front of the plate. Dotson to field it and throws him out. But the Orioles push across another run on a walk and a double after 2 were out. And at the end of 1.5 at Chicago's Comiskey Park, the Orioles have silenced this big crowd a little bit.
Pierce. I think Jerry Staley was on that club. This guy will get the crowd going. Anytime a slugger steps in, you can feel the electricity. Become a little bit of a folk hero here in his first year, where he's so quotable and he hits it on the roof.
1-0 pitch. 2-0. Strike as we pause briefly for station identification on the NBC television network.
WMAQ-TV, Chicago.
Swing and a miss by Kittle to even the count at 2-2. Here's where we stand in the last half of the second. Joe Aldavelli's boys are in control.
3-run home run by Murray, which had to go 340 maybe. Right center field. I say 440, excuse me.
Payoff pitch to Kittle. Hit hard down the left field line. This one is extra bases. Firing it in is Lowenstein, but a double for Kittle.
After a Flanagan changeup that he got middle of the plate inside a little more up than he wanted it.
Well, a few moments ago it was Murray who broke out of his slump. Bain steps in 0 for 8 for Chicago in the series and takes strike 1. Foul, 0-2. Well, that Dempsey just continues to be as aggressive as anyone can be.
Well, Well, he's been so quick today after catching all those pitches and breaking balls from Boddicker. He's always been a very durable catcher. And part of the reason, I think, is the platoon system that Earl Weaver started. And Ed Schaberin, of course, and Elrod Hendricks for a while. Now they platoon Joe Nolan, usually with Dempsey, although he's caught all 3 games so far.
Baines rips it, but Murray is there. He's going to take it unassisted as Kittle moves to third with 1 out.
Murray, the ball hit very hard by Baines. Flanagan dropped down a little bit to a sidearm curveball, tried to push Baines off the plate. They've gotten a little bit inside. It looked like he reached for it. He made an out, and it's a good out to make because he gets the guy down to third base with 1 out where he can score on a sac fly.
Vance Law is the hitter. Chops it up the middle. It'll get a run home. Dower backhands, but has no play.
Did to the right side. Dower had a thought. He'd go to third base if the runner didn't go. So, Vance Law gets an RBI because of Harold Baines, because Kim double.
Ball 1 to Fletcher.
The outfield defensively swings around toward right center. Murray holds Vance Law. Bunbury toward right center. The way Flanagan runs that fastball away, they don't think that Fletcher will pull him.
That's a strike.
Hits him away, play him away. An old theory with many people who hit down in the order.
Mike Flanagan is 31 years old, 6 feet tall, 195. American League Cy Young Award winner in 1979 when he won 23. A doll replica of one of the mascots here, Ribby and Rhubarb, they call him in Chicago. Fletcher hits one to deep left. Lowenstein is going back on the track. He's got it about a step in front of the wall. And back to first goes Vance Law. Now, I don't think Fletcher got all of that, but it shows you how well the ball is carrying tonight. It drove Lowenstein to the fence.
Dempsey and Flanagan thought they had him set up. He ran the fastball, or rather cut the fastball in on Fletcher's fist, and you can see the wind starting to push Lowenstein back to the left field wall, right about the spot, a couple strides farther than Al Smith. The World Series had the Cup of Beer partners at a classic photo in 1959.
Well, maybe tonight it'll be Lowenstein.
Oh. They have T-shirts made up like that, you know, the Orioles.
Julio Cruz, I apologize to everyone.
In fact, after somebody said that, it's not so funny because they came and offered a lot of money to Lowenstein. And they sent him a lot of free cases. I saw them.
Grounds it towards short. Ripken, quick flip for the force with Dower covering. They never could have gotten the speedy Cruz down at first base. Let the White Sox get on the board on a double by Kittle, a ground out from Baines, and a run-producing infield single from Law. Back.
You know, I had a chance to talk to Don Sutton about what we were talking about a while ago, about Dotson, whether the changeup was messing up his fastball or vice versa. And Don was saying that sometimes a pitcher, when he hangs on to that changeup a little long and gets that wrist, like he pulls down in the shade, he drives it in the dirt, and then the fastball might ride high. And then Fisk went for more fastballs last inning. He had him down low in the strike zone.
Ripken fouls it back for strike 1. He singled his first time and scored along with Dwyer ahead of Murray on the homer. Hit hard but foul.
Last time up, Ripken went 3-1 ahead of Dotson. Tried to pull one, drove it into home plate. Vance Law is almost tacked to the third base line. Playing him as a severe pull hitter at third base. Just about a stride and a half from the third base foul line.
Taken high. 1-2. Ripken, born and still lives near Baltimore. It's one more reason why he's fast become a big local hero. Rookie of the year in 1982, and quite possibly MVP in his sophomore campaign.
That Don Drysdale helped him with. Said if you're having trouble controlling the good overhand curve and you lost your slider, take a little break off it, change your release point from a little bit straight over the top to more 3/4, and you'll have a controlled breaking ball, a pitch that Johnny Sane teaches so well.
Now Murray. The last time he swung, it sounded like a thunderbolt as he sent one flying deep into the upper deck in right center. This one is tapped slowly towards second. Julio Cruz could have walked it over there himself. He loves to do that. Almost tease the runner and take it right up to the first baseman before lobbing it to him.
With his quickness, you've got to be careful if you're at first base, or he'll run you right over. Nice and comfortable for a first baseman. Be able to say, I know my second baseman will be there. I can guard the line. He flipped it for one reason. He didn't want to embarrass Eddie Murray and beat him to the bag.
Strike one to Lowenstein. Two quick outs from the Baltimore third. Inside, 1-1. Two balls and a strike. Lowenstein drew a walk his first time. First base, it's Paciorek. Dotson will cover, score at 3-1. And Dotson has his most comfortable inning, setting the Orioles down 1-2. A lot of baseball purists feel the same way.
It's a little irritating to Baltimore. If they want to do it when the White Sox are out in the field, do it, but not when the visiting team's out there. But I'm a killjoy.
Rudy Law at 600 for the series. 6 for 10. Single in the first and takes a strike.
Todd Cruz at third starts even with a bag, and as Flanagan goes into his windup, he creeps about 5 steps in.
Big breaking ball, but it misses 1-1.
It's one thing the Orioles staff does so well. They change speeds on all their pitches. And I don't mean just a hard curveball, a soft one. A lot of variables in between to upset the timing.
This ball is hit into center field with Bumbry in pursuit. He'll be there. Flanagan is doing pretty well here tonight, leading 4-1, but the White Sox certainly haven't been his favorite opponents this year. He's 0-2 against them for the season. ERA over 7 against Chicago, and it was against the White Sox in the first game of a doubleheader on May 17th that he ripped his knee up trying to field a grounder and spent an awful long time on the disabled list after that.
Fisk now 1 for 9. He's got a walk and 1 single.
Fouled out to the third baseman his first time up. Strike 1.
After he had that Cy Young Award year in 79, 81, or 80 and 81 were not very good years for him. He came up with some arm problems and he struggled to rehabilitate.
The radar gun records Flanagan's pitch. 63 on that one.
Slow curveball.
A ball and a strike with 1 out and nobody aboard in the last half of the third. 1-2.
That was a straight change. So picture a guy who maybe throws in the low 80s, maybe mid 80s tops. When you throw that 76-mile-per-hour fastball, and if they're trying to look for it, the fastball looks about a yard or 2 faster. And you can get the ball in on your fist. We'll show it to you one more time. Change of speeds. Keep the hitter off stride. One time you got the hitter striding 2 feet on the changeup. Next time you bust a fastball, he can't get the foot down in time. It's by him.
Count holds at 1-2. Flanagan is 31 years old, born and raised in Manchester, New Hampshire. Was quite a high school basketball player. He still holds the state tournament championship game record with 44 points scored. There's Pachorik on deck. Drilled by Fisk down the line and left. Fair ball. Lowenstein up with it, but Fisk has a stand-up double. Sometimes the fans wonder whether the 2 extra umpires in league championship play and the World Series have anything to do. Well, Jim McKean down the left field line has had 2 close calls already tonight and has been right on top of both.
When he gets the ball up, as he just did, he can get in trouble. Did not hit a fan. There was no fan interference. Jim McKean saw it.
Pachorik hits it back up the middle. Dower had him played perfectly, throws him out.
So perhaps that number 2 spot, the next 3 hitters, is starting to show a little life now. A couple of doubles in this ball game, one by Fisk, one by Kidder.
Fisk at third with 2 out. Ball 1 to Lazinski, who fanned his first time. Into shallow right, Dwyer. He's got it. No runs, a hit, a double by Fisk. He's left stranded at third. And at the end of 3, Flanagan and the Orioles
settled in. 3 up, 3 down inning. 2 ground ball outs in the third and a strikeout. But he's been a little bit in and out after he gave up the 3-run home run and a walk. He got a sinker ball, ground ball out, and then he lost his control and walked somebody in the second. Had a strong third inning, so maybe he's finally gotten in his groove. We'll see.
Singleton hit into a 6-4-3 inning-ending double play in the first inning. Lines it right back through the box for a leadoff single.
Dotson was a lucky young man right there. He just got that hit out of the way in time. Didn't have a chance to get the glove up. Fastball out over the plate. It's when he's had trouble, when he's been up. Look out. Ball's got a little rabbit in it again the last few years.
You said that frequently, and you feel that it shows up not so much in the home run totals, but on how quickly the ball gets back to the pitcher on smashes through the box like that.
Not only that, I mean, every pitcher on the staff last year from Kansas City got hit one time or another or more. You talk to infielders like Frank White on artificial surface. Ground balls that they used to get, eat them up now. Seem to pick up speed and handcuff them.
Fans love offense.
Going.
And the ball is chopped. Fletcher has to retreat since he had gone over to cover, but he gets him barely.
That is an excellent play by Scott Fletcher. With a hit and run on, Dower picked the right man. He had the shortstop going over to cover, and Fletcher had a reverse ground, and Dower, doesn't run that well with those bad legs. And also watch, he won't get too good of a jump. He watches the ball a little bit. He's grinding it out. The last thing that may have cost it, what they teach you not to do, to jump for the bag and float in the air. Better off taking 2 quick steps than 1 big long lunge. He may have lost it, but he did advance the runner.
There's a K next to Todd Cruz's name in the scorebook for his only at bat. Dotson has fanned 3 so far.
Bullpen starts again for the White Sox. It's been up in every inning. Art Kushner, the bullpen coach, with Jerry Koosman once more.
One and one.
Punch fist can't. Hope you enjoy the game, Mr. Gould.
He's a big sports fan. I see him at Madison Square Garden all the time. Goes to the Knicks games.
He asked for your autograph?
No, he doesn't. Seldom. Occasionally, maybe.
Fisk can't find a pattern for Dotson. He can't seem to keep him in any kind of groove. He's completely laid off the straight change over the last couple of innings. He gets the fastball in the groove, and he tries to mix in the breaking ball. Throws 1 good one and 2 bad ones. Just trying to bring Dotson along.
Here's the 2-1. Drops a bunt. Fisk pounces on it and throws.
Oh, what a
got
play.
him.
What a great play by Punch Fisk. He thought he had a base hit. Dotson's over, and look at how fast Punch Fisk, one time in his career at Boston, he thought he was washed up after that 75 season when he tore up his knee. They thought he would not recover. He's put on a few years since then, but he was cat-like. Those 2 plays saved some more trouble for Dotson. The one by Fletcher on the hit and run, and the one by Fisk.
So now it's up to Dempsey with Singleton at third base and 2 out. We're in the top half of the 4th, and Baltimore leads Chicago 4-1. Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. The right to meet either the Phillies or the Dodgers in the World Series. First pitch swinging. Dempsey is disgusted with himself. Law's going to take it. And the Orioles go out without scoring in the 4th. They had a hit, and 1 man is left. They lead it 4-1. The All-Star game said it was quite a thrill for him.
And I guess in the tradition of the late Mayor Daley, who lived right near Comiskey Park, was a great Sox fan.
Kittle smacked a double his first time up in the 2nd inning, and he scored the only White Sox run. Flanagan's first pitch of the 4th. Taken for a ball.
Sometimes a defensive inning, like the White Sox just had, saving trouble for Dotson, can spur a team on a little bit. A little more motivation.
Almost clipped him. 2-0.
Flanagan trying to move with that hard curve. Move him off the plate a little bit.
Tony La Russa took over for Don Kessinger in late 1979 as the White Sox manager. Kittle with a foul ball, 2-2. And so even though Tony La Russa is but 39 years of age, celebrated that birthday this week, he has the second longest tenure with the same club of any manager in the American League. Only Sparky Anderson of the Tigers has been with his present team longer.
Bob, while we have a chance, we want to send our condolences out to one of the men who is one of the mentors for Tony La Russa, Al Lopez, who managed that 59 White Sox team. Lost his wife about a week ago, so our best to you, Al, and our condolences to you and the family.
It was the Senor and two of his teams who interrupted the great Yankee string of pennants between 1949 and 64. Here's the 2-2. 3-2. The Yankees failed to win the pennant only twice in that entire span. Once in 1954 and the other time in 1959. Each time Lopez managed the pennant winner, the Indians in 54 and the White Sox in 59.
And after the 59 season, they went on to win 5 consecutive American League pennants through 64.
Hit by the pitch.
Right on the knee. Whoop. Nah.
Obviously, Flanagan didn't do this on purpose.
Nope.
La Russa and Cal Ripken Sr. are among the principal peacemakers. The bullpens are emptying now. Hit the ball hard in his only trip, but he's still hitless in the series as Eddie Murray fielded his sharp grounder. 0 for 9 for Harold. Fouled back. I don't think Dempsey has a chance. It's out of play.
That's no Garagiola trick right there, but Joe used to do it when he went in front of the dugout. Some guys would be razzing him. He would slide and do that in front of the dugout and kick the dirt right in their faces. He was a hustling ball player, isn't he? Right next to Dick Butler, the supervisor and umpire, and Lee McPhail with the glasses. He will be league president for about another week until he takes over Ray Greeby's job.
Here's the 0-1. 1-1.
Umpires handled that well, didn't they?
Hit hard, but fielded by Dower. They'll turn 2 with Ripken getting it to Murray, and Murray with a dandy stretch to help complete it.
Harold Baines doesn't have anything to show for his last 2 bats, although he did advance a runner the time before this, but he has hit 2 balls very hard. The last one to Murray the last time up, hit it sharply, and this one was a bullet. Dower showed very, very quick hands. He almost could not get out of the way of the ball.
As Kittle walked along the bench, you saw him pause briefly to talk with Herm Schneider, the trainer, just to tell him he's okay. And the knee, which was struck by the pitch from Flanagan, won't give him any problem the rest of the night. Vance Law now, with the bases empty and 2 out, takes ball 1.
Every once in a while, the Orioles pitchers throw, Palmer does, Flanagan, what they call their batting practice fastball. They get behind and they just say, here, hit it. Take their chances right down the middle. That one he ran away from.
I'll ask the question then that I think a lot of people sitting at home would ask. What's the percentage in doing that? Just laying it right in there.
I guess they figure guy fails 7 out of 10 times. The old theory, still only a 300 hitter, which is a great standard to have. So they say, here, go ahead. I've got a lead. I'm not going to walk you. I'd rather have you put it in play and take a single, hopefully.
Dwyer in right field takes the fly ball off the bat of Vance Law. Well, it's been ugly so far for the White Sox, but they...
You keep track of numbers. Dotson threw 4 innings. He faced 18 batters. He threw 62 pitches. 38 were strikes, 24 balls, 12 first pitch strikes. He's been erratic, to say the least.
Bumbry has struck out and hit an RBI double. Takes a strike. Pachorik, fair ball, steps on the bag. Tom Pachorik feuded a little bit with Tony La Russa earlier in the year, blasted him in the papers, and then the next day showed up in the White Sox clubhouse with a shoe hanging from his mouth. That was his way of saying, hey, I know I overstepped my bounds, Tony. Let's patch this thing up. And when they came down the stretch, La Russa used Pachorik almost every day, as he was one of his hottest hitters.
La Russa in constant communication with his coaches, talking to Duncan right there. Little hot dog wrappers out at shortstop area, the reason for the pause. Many times when the White Sox are hitting, Charlie Lau will stand next to La Russa instead of the pitching coach.
Dwyer takes ball 1. A chance for Cruz charging in. That underhand flip, trademark, 2 down.
Pachorik and Cruz worked out very well. They teach first baseman, they work on it in spring training. A hard hit ball to your right, go after it. Maybe the second baseman probably can't get it. A slow hit ball, go to the bag and let the second baseman handle it. When you got Julio Cruz there, you can give a lot of room to your right. Does he have a flare?
And as you've mentioned, Tony La Russa felt not that Bernazard, the guy they swapped to Seattle for Cruz, was a bad ball player, but that Cruz would add just that little bit of spice that this team might need. Can't argue with the results. Ripken with the bases empty and 2 out.
Interesting defensive alignment they've been using on Cal Ripken Jr. In the infield on the left side, they play him to pull. But look at Kittle shading toward left center. In the outfield, they play him to hit late right center field. So they figure ground ball, he's going to get it down to the left side, possibly in the hole or down the line. Anything in the air hits the other way. Look out.
Retaliation, Tony, or not?
Yeah, well, let's watch Dick Preminger.
Look at Ripken smiling about it.
I doubt it. 1 ball, no strikes. He tries to throw a fastball hard inside. White Sox can't afford being down by 3 runs to put extra runners on, so I really doubt it. Ripken, being the professional he is, says to Ralph Salvon, the trainer, I understand the game. Now Pops gives some signs. 2 outs, he's telling the kid.
Reading Ripken's lips, I think he just said to Dotson, is that all you got? But of course that wasn't Dotson's best fastball.
See, I don't think you want to hit him right there with this guy coming up after what he's already done in this ball game. If there's any doubt whether he did it intentionally, this will tell you.
Well, that one's tight.
Look at Murray.
Here we go.
Look at this. Here they come again, folks. Here come the bullpens. There's going to be a warning this time, I would guess.
Davey Phillips is the senior umpire here, and that's him with La Russa.
La Russa went right to the biggest guy and strongest guy in the field, right to Murray. I think all Tony's trying to do is say, look, here come both bullpens, the foul line umpires. Even one of the ball boys is coming in from the left field corner. It's going to be a typical non-baseball fight.
All right, as Murray steps back in and Ripken takes his lead. 2 out. Ball 1 is the count. We're in the top half of the 5th. The Orioles lead the White Sox 4-1. Dotson can't knock him down anymore. He's going to stare him down.
last pitch was not a knockdown. It was the, well, some pitchers' bread and butter pitch. You got to brush them back and then go out there. Pitchers who don't throw good brushbacks, moves hitters off, and find they cannot control the outside part of the plate. Hitter leans over and they get in trouble.
Dotson falls behind Murray 3-0. Lowenstein is on deck. So it's happened before with Dotson. Ball 4.
I think Dave Steve of Toronto led the league in hit batsmen in that department this season. Now Duncan pops out. President of NBC Sports, let's see, President Eddie Einhorn, or one of the Vice President, Eddie Einhorn, Jerry Reinsdorf, the other man involved, the big money man.
Well, you might as well complete the thought. Yeah, that was Arthur Watson, the president of NBC Sports, seated next to Eddie Einhorn. Lowenstein. He's walked and grounded out. He takes a ball.
Now Dick Tidrow. Koosman was up the first 3 innings. Maybe getting about 1 hitter removed. Should Dotson lose him with 2 outs, he may be out of it.
2-0. Play Lowenstein to pull on the left side. Shortstop Fletcher pinched toward the bag. Law at third, well off the line. Same is true of Kittle in left. Pretty much straight away on the right side.
Now Julio Cruz steps 3 quick steps to his left.
And this ball is smacked. Harold Baines is in pursuit, but it is off the wall. Ripken is going to score. Murray is being waved home. Lowenstein has a double.
Going to third.
Going to third, and he's going to be a dead duck.
Dotson dug his own grave. Hit batsman 2 outs. Who jousted with Murray, then he lost him, and that's what happened. They tacked 2 more on.
So Lowenstein is erased, but not before driving home 2 more runs. Strike 1. Scott Fletcher leading off in the last half of the 5th. Julio Cruz on deck. Lofted into short center field. Bunbury comes scampering in and has it.
You think Oriole pitchers aren't well trained? Legacy of Earl Weaver again. When that ball went up and 4 were going after it, Flanagan was standing on second base in case it was left uncovered. He has great arm speed when he throws that changeup. He doesn't telegraph it at all. Same easy delivery as he has with his fastball, hard curveball, or even when he takes something off.
Cruz steps in. Better hitter right-handed than left. What pop he has comes from the right side. He'll take you deep occasionally, almost always right-handed. 2-0. Foul back. Dempsey. Or a look. But no.
Remember, games number 4 tomorrow in the National League, a night game tomorrow. Dodgers at Philadelphia. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll see Storm Davis against Britt Burns for the White Sox. Wind not blowing out. Well, it's kind of off and on. Not quite as hard, I don't think. It's what'll happen here tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Baltimore versus Chicago. Another good pitching matchup.
Cruz is getting himself a new bat.
You were commenting a while ago, Bob, and we saw another winning ugly sign a while ago, and attributed to Doug Rader, but I've gotten some words that Darrell Johnson, the manager of the Red Sox in '75, when he got beat by Cincinnati, he's an advanced scout, and he put in his report, they're winning ugly. When they got on their stretch, they might take a tailspin.
This one is popped into short right. Dwyer calls and records the out.
And I think what Darrell Johnson meant was it was complimentary, as when Rader repeated it, that the White Sox were scrambling for runs. They were winning a lot of different ways. They were stealing bases, hitting, running. They get a walk, a base hit, a little bloop. Somebody'd come in an air, and they'd throw 2 or 3 runs at you.
Rudy Law steps in, 6 for 11 in the series, trailing 6-1. The game plan has been taken away from the White Sox, at least for the time being. They wanted to run at every opportunity. Vicious cut and a foul ball. Law swiped 77 this year, second in the league, behind Rickey Henderson's 108. If you throw out the strike season of 1981, Oakland's Henderson has stolen 100 or more in 3 consecutive seasons, including the record 130 last year.
Baltimore has 6 base hits to get their 6 runs, and 5 of the 6 have been for extra bases.
Hits slowly. They're going to have an awfully tough time getting him. He beats it easily.
That's what Flanagan has had trouble with. Last week in September, he didn't get to first base on a ball, and it cost him a ball game. Late in August against Toronto, he couldn't get down and bend his leg with that stiff brace to field a ground ball, and it cost him a ball game. So, in spite of the fact that he's telling everyone the knee does not hurt, it hurts. He's got a metal brace on his knee that is strapped mid-thigh to mid-calf, hinged at the knee, made of aluminum. You can see how at the middle of his thigh, and now Altobelli's saying, how is it? He's not going to take a chance that if he throws a delivery that might be off balance and forget to use his lower body, just his arm, and he can tear that shoulder up. Look at Dizzy Dean. Got hit in the All-Star game, came back too soon, and hurt his arm, never pitched well again. I think where Flanagan ranks in that list. Pretty good company.
In League Championship Series play, Flanagan is 1-0. He won Game 2 of the 1979 series for the Orioles over the Angels. Fisk stands in and takes a strike.
Sammy Stewart. And behind him in the first chair, Dennis Martinez. Supposed to be one of their starters this year, the Big Four, and he really struggled.
Law diving back with his 2 hits tonight in 3 trips. Law is now 7 for 12 in the series. That's .583. Taken outside. 1-1. Flanagan has a great move. He's picked off nearly 50 runners in his career.
Both he and Scotty McGregor, they go right to up to that rubber. They don't go across it, because then you have to go home. You go to the center field side, and they just toy and bend that rule a little bit, because he's got such a good leg kick, good head and eye fakes.
Here's the 2-1. Lofted to left. It's very deep. Lowenstein back and has just enough room. Again, Fisk didn't really lower the boom on that ball, but he got it up in the air, and the wind helped it a bit, and it almost left Comiskey.
3 of those were balls. Interestingly enough, Dotson walked 3, hit 1 batter, and 3 of those 4 scored, so he got himself in trouble. But, you know, if you go to game 5, though, having thrown 75 pitches, always the possibility he could be used in relief if the bullpen runs dry in tonight or tomorrow's ball game.
At least for a couple of hitters. So Dotson, as Tidrow delivers the first one to Singleton, called strike. Dotson took a 10-game winning streak into postseason play, but this was not his night. One and one. A ball and 2 strikes to Kenny.
Bob, we saw lefty, of course, who won 300 games. Carlton's name on the board a while ago. Right beneath that, Guidry. This man right here, when he spent some time along with Sparky Lyle in the bullpen, the Yankees, before Guidry became the great starter he is, Guidry says that Tidrow taught him how to pitch, and that it was Sparky Lyle who taught him to throw that snapping slider. He's always made mention of that. Give him credit.
Did he check his swing? They check at third base, and the third base umpire, Mike Riley, the youngest member of the crew, he's working his first LCS. He said no, he held up. So it's 2-2.
Tidrow has some trouble with left-handed hitters because he throws that kind of pitch. He drops down a little bit. He doesn't come over the top much, and that breaking ball stays on a flat plane. Right-handed hitters, he sinks that ball and runs it away, and it's tough.
It's a full count. That one wasn't as tough for Riley to decide on, but Fisk thought, what the heck? Take another shot at it.
Talked about the 6 hits by Baltimore, 5 for extra bases, a double by Dwyer, double by Ripken, home run by Murray, double by Lowenstein, a double by Bumbry.
Payoff pitch. Called, third strike.
Not too many umpires punch Kenny Singleton out. He's walked 100 times or more, 7 times in his major league career, and Tidrow was toying with an outside corner. Birmingham said that time he got it.
When those hitters develop a reputation for the good eye, Joe Morgan, Ted Williams, perhaps the best example, popped up by Dower. Kachorik has it, 2 down. They do get the benefit of the doubt, don't they?
I say they deserve it. They don't get it overnight. The quickest I've seen is Wade Boggs in just his 2nd full season. He is so disciplined. You know, a guy like Mantle, it probably took him a half a dozen years or more, and Williams maybe quicker than that with his great reputation.
Todd Cruz stands in with the bases empty and 2 out. Top half of the 6th. 6-1 Baltimore. Ball 1. That Wade Boggs story in Boston. That is a great story just waiting to be told. Relatively little national recognition. Boggs led the American League in hitting at .361 in his 2nd season after batting .349 as a rookie. There's a strike to Cruz.
Rumored trade's been going around about a month, not involving Boggs, but the Red Sox and San Francisco. The Bell's names have mentioned, the reliever.
Called strike 2, 1-2.
Usually there's not a whole lot of trade activity until I think it's November 4th, where those who can become free agents have to declare. Drop down, he's right there on the black again.
That one missed, and this time they check with the first base umpire, Jim Evans. Evans is the guy that's been involved in a couple of controversial calls that have gone against the White Sox, but Tony La Russa has steadfastly maintained that he's glad Evans is working the series because he's a good ump. Didn't stop Tony from arguing in both cases. Cruz goes down swinging. So So Tidrow has a 1-2-3 top of the 6th and strikes a couple out after 5.5.
So maybe Flanagan's knee was bothering him. He had to make that run and couldn't get over. A strikeout pitcher, basically. Hard slider, good curveball that he's worked on. And he can throw in the low 90s. Power pitcher.
2-0 the count to Paciorek. Off the fist, right center field, and Bumbry will be there. Bumbry must have idolized Willie Mays as a young ball player, because even when he doesn't have to exert himself very much, he tends to run out from under that hat like Willie did. The Bull takes ball 1. Broke the bat in half. Ripken is up with it, and the Bull is gone.
You think Luzinski is not a popular figure here, born in this area? Lived in Chicago until about 9 or 10, moved to the suburbs. There's the top part of the bat. Chicago, with the second largest Polish population in the world, next to Warsaw, Poland. With a name like Luzinski. And the fastball, and look how it tied him up. He couldn't get the bat out, what Charlie Lau and the hitters call extension. We tend to use the word classic a lot in these championship years. That was a classic jam shot right there.
Well, evidently, Ron Kittle's knee bothering him more than he let on at first. And Jerry Hairston will bat for him, a switch hitter, an outfielder. And Kittle is done after doubling and being hit by a pitch. Ball 1 to Hairston with 2 outs and nobody on. We're in the last half of the 6th. And the Orioles are cruising with a 6-1 lead. 2-0.
Talk about a guy who's had to battle to stay in the major leagues. Jerry's father, a member of the White Sox staff, I believe is one of their scouts, but he wasn't making. He went down and played in Mexican leagues and banged around a lot. Wonder why he's pinch hitting? I'll show you. 3-2 breaking ball from Flanagan, caught him very squarely on the left knee.
Hairston pops it foul as we come back live, and Todd Cruz has trouble with the wind. I just turned him in nuts.
Let's see if they give an error. Now, he didn't touch that ball, but that ball was as catchable as the one Dempsey almost run into the railing and banged off his glove. Although he didn't touch this, it still was a playable and catchable ball. So there are inconsistencies in the rules. What I can see, it's just a foot behind him, and they don't give him an error.
He was lost. Dower, as sure-handed as they come. In fact, Rich Dower has the highest fielding percentage of any second baseman in Major League history. So he throws the pinch hitter Hairston out. There's your score. Dempsey leads off, top half of the 7th. Tidrow in relief of Dotson. Threw it by him, strike 1.
White Sox defensive alignment, again, somewhat unusual. Playing a little bit to pull for Dempsey in the infield, and look what they're doing in the outfield. Rudy Law, right center field. Tidrow's the kind of guy you pull more often than not, I think, unless they're going to stay breaking balls outside like that. Not give him anything you can pull, unless it's bad. LaRussa, one of the managers using the computers. Steve Morris, Oakland, Billy Martin has started a little bit. Many others will go to it. Duncan, pitching coach next to LaRussa. What they do is they put Glenn Rosenbaum, traveling to secondary batting practice pitcher, up to chart things, and they program him.
Fletcher at shortstop. Nice room service hop to throw him out. Well, you know, LaRussa says, I don't always make the moves that the computers suggest, but at least I'm aware of the percentages when I choose to ignore them.
It's interesting, though, too, because one of our statisticians, the principal one, Night Train Horn, Steve, here today, requested some information from the White Sox and the league. Somebody charting things. Duncan looking at pitching patterns and what's going on. And the White Sox had a meeting before this thing started. They will not divulge what they consider inside information. Now, hitters have done against left and right, home and away, and various other sophisticated stats. Usually that stuff is pretty much accessible to the media.
Bumbry's 1 for 3, but his hit was an RBI double. Here's Cruz. And to Paciorek.
Dwyer with one of the 5 extra base hits. First base hit of the ball game, a double in the first. He scored along with Ripken in front of that monstrous home run off the bat of Murray to right center field.
That's ball 1. Just 23 years old. Talk about a future.
The 2 franchise players, Ripken and Murray.
2-0. Yeah, they've got the best record over the last 15 years. They've won 7 division titles since the playoff system began in 1969. They've topped 90 victories, 16 of the last 20 years. Any way you slice it, continual excellence from the Baltimore Oriole organization.
And what might be a big part of that, Weaver was a great big part of it, but also since the Gold Glove Awards for defense started, Rawlings started it, the Orioles have led all the major league teams in that category. Of course, the great Brooks Robinson, the Hall of Fame now broadcaster, he got one every year. I don't know, 17, 18, 19. I lost track after he got the first 15. But defense has been really their trademark.
We made mention of the hard feelings that exist in this game. First, Kittle was hit by Flanagan. Now Ripken is plunked by Dotson, but look at this classic style and a smile on his face. Refused to admit that it hurt, if it did.
You know, when Murray got thrown, he's in the on-deck circle now. When he got thrown at or close to, brushing him back, the next hitter up, I think he really was wanting to go out to the mound, Dotson, because of Ripken getting hit. They're very, very close. There's no competition between them outwardly, but inwardly, these competitors are burning to outdo each other like Manlin Maris did that year, 61 and 54 home runs. Now look at this. Ripken coming down to the third base coaching box saying to his kid, I think, get in there and hit. I think he was getting on young Cal. Get in there and hit and get a good pitch, he was saying.
Ball 1. I asked Cal before the series about his experiences following his father around the minor leagues, hanging around the clubhouses, being around ball players from a very early age. And young Cal described himself as a why person. He said he asked an awful lot of questions during those days at the minor league parks. 2-0 the count. And so when he arrived in the big leagues at age 22, he was much more mature than his years. He's very, very poised, handles the media well, apparently handles the pressure of playing in a series like this very well. Two-0 pitch. Swung through it, 2-1.
Vance Law, the third baseman, is trying to wave Jerry Hairston over to pull. Look at this. Vance is getting the scouting reports from the bench, and Hairston didn't hear it. Been pretty much a pinch hitter, uses a DH, not too often defensively. They couldn't get his attention.
Dwyer had a very short lead.
Pace of the game has slowed somewhat, hasn't it? Because after all the turmoil a couple of innings back, it was bound to.
3-1, and the electricity which existed here at the start of the game is absent, at least for now. These fans are ready to explode, but they haven't had much of a chance.
Murray silenced him first, right in that first inning. Every time they tried to get aroused again, there was a walk and a double or something.
Foul back by Ripken, full count. So Dwyer will be running at first.
Shark now moves behind him, protect the hole. Jimmy Williams, the first base coach, has warned Dwyer, make sure he pitches. They're trying to get a good jump.
Ripken's hitting .400 on 4 for 10 in the series so far. This one is popped back. Fisk takes it. So for the Orioles in the top half of the 7th, no runs, no hits, a walk, and a man is left after 6 1/2.
Are bidding to get her. We play on her option.
Baines leads off, still looking for his first hit of the series. He's hit the ball hard twice, but he's 0 for 2. Two and 1 the count. Hopped up. Dempsey. Boy, it came back on him and he slipped on the track. And that is the 3rd Baltimore misadventure on a foul pop tonight.
So now they've got to give it an air again, right? They did it in the first one. Let's see how consistent the official scorers are. The wind's playing tricks. That wasn't as high as some. This backs up a little bit. He's usually deathly on those. Not today.
The count goes full to Baines. Mike Squires is in the on-deck circle. And he'll bat for Vance Law.
So that time they did not give Dempsey an error. I guess they ruled because it hit his glove last time.
Here's Cruz with a nice pickup. And Baines is now 0 for 3.
Doggone, he's played a nice series so far, hasn't he? At third. The one ball that Pachora hit handcuffed him in the one game. Here's a breaking ball that Baines tries to go the other way, and he covered. It was hit sharply. The grass slowed it down a little bit, but he still went 4 or 5 steps to his right, circled the ball nicely, and showed that gun again.
We mentioned, Tony, as Squires steps in, batting for Law, at the start of the broadcast, how Baines, Kittle, Fisk, and Luzinski, who had almost 400 RBIs between them for the season, were without a run driven home and a combined 3 for 28 through the first 2 games. Well, tonight, they're a combined 2 for 10. Kittle and Fisk each had a double tonight. Luzinski and Baines are hitless. And although Kittle scored a run, none of the big 4 has driven one in. So Baltimore pitching has really handcuffed the White Sox big guns.
And in the first 2 ball games, in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings alone, the White Sox have left 11 runners on base. Tony La Russa with one more left-handed pinch hitter on the bench. Walker was a little more power than the other ones.
He'd like to save him for a spot where the White Sox might put some runners aboard.
Right side, he's got Dubzinski, Rodriguez, Mark Hill, and Dave Steckman.
2-1. And popped up. Ripken, who handled more chances than any shortstop in the American League this year. Concession stand at Comiskey Park, selling plenty of winning ugly t-shirts tonight. We have the rosters. You'd have to be fairly friendly with anyone who'd get close enough to read them. Fine print.
When this is over, which may be shortly, you know where you can get yourself a job.
A cutting remark. And a strike call to Scott Fletcher. And after all I've done for you this year.
Said it yesterday, we'll say it again. This is a tough bullpen to come back on. Shanitar from the right side. You've got Stoddard, who can be, he's a good power pitcher, can come in for a few hitters or an inning. And then the ace, Tippy Martinez from the left side.
One shortstop wraps it to the other, and Fletcher is retired by Ripken. So it's a 1-2-3 frame for Stewart. We've completed 7. Vowels, I was going to say, aren't R and L consonants? And so much for that brief and vaguely educational moment.
The man up who you knew it was just going to be a matter of time, strong as he is, that he was going to get into one. He did in that first inning.
When he creamed a Richard Dotson pitch into the right center field bleachers, it snapped an 0-for-29 streak in postseason play for him. Rice and Armas, teammates, top 2 home run hitters in the American League, with Kittle 3rd and Murray 4th. When Rice and Armas finished 1-2 in that category, it marked the first time that teammates have been the top 2 home run hitters in the American League since Maris and Mantle in 1961.
Do you think Eddie's not going to be sitting on a pitch right here, 2-0? Inside part of the plate. The guy who throws a little bit sidearm.
Let's see. Taken low. That must have been something to watch unfold in 1961 as your teammates waged their assault on Ruth's record.
Mantle in April and May took the burden off Ralph Houck's shoulders in a hurry. Replaced Casey Stengel after the 60 World Series. He had a red hot April and May, and that set up Maris's year also. What a great achievement. Roger Maris never getting the recognition he should have with the asterisk. I think it's the only record I know there is such an asterisk behind it in the book. Bring an artificial surface, guys get more hits. They don't put asterisks there. DHs, all other kinds of things. Maris was a great all-around ball player for 6 or 7 years.
Murray now walks for the 2nd straight time.
Even with this score, 6-1 Baltimore, Tidrow wanted no part of Eddie Murray.
As Lowenstein steps in, we tell you this telecast is presented under the authority of Major League Baseball, intended for the entertainment of our audience. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the contents of this telecast without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited. Lowenstein has walked, grounded out, and doubled home 2 in the 5th. That's a strike.
Expression has been in baseball a long time. Let a sleeping dog lie. I wonder if they woke Eddie Murray up. He's always a very intense person, but maybe more so since Dotson hit Ripken. Not intentionally, and then moved him back. Dennis Lamp begins throwing. Lamp leads the White Sox in saves. Not really an ace out of their bullpen. Spread the saves around quite a bit.
2-1. And 3-1. Lowenstein was born in Wolf Point, Montana. Lives now in an entirely different environment, Las Vegas. The runner is going. It's taken for a strike, and Murray catches them napping and steals second base.
It's interesting, when Lowenstein stepped in the batter's box, Eddie Murray kept looking into the dugout, possibly to ask Altobelli, said, look, if they give it to me with a 5-run lead, should I take it? He just kept walking off a little bit more, a little bit more. Fisk having to throw over Lowenstein's head. The ball flies high. Picks up the runner, or the ball in case it's hit.
And now the 3-2 pickoff play. Is that a little bit of a message play? Murray just wanting to do something aggressive,
Yeah.
maybe still hopped up over what happened earlier?
No question about it. He's not a base stealer. Interesting how he went back to second base. More major leaguers going and standing up, since so many are putting on plays, and if you dive in, they plant their foot and block you off the base.
Lowenstein is punched out of there by plate umpire Nick Bremigan. Sweeping curveball. Lowenstein thought he had the walk, but it got the corner.
LaRussa wants him walk. You can see him holding up the 4 fingers. Wants Tidrow to pitch the right-hander Dower.
Dower and Cruz, who follow, obviously far less dangerous than Singleton, and then the double play will be in order. So an intentional walk for Singleton. You mentioned earlier how annually he gets close to 100 walks, and a lot of fans persist in the belief that a walk is an accident, or simply a batter getting lucky when he happens to be up there when a pitcher loses his control. But if you check the walk leaders, you see the same names year in, year out. And getting on base, the on-base percentage is very overlooked, and batting average is perhaps overemphasized.
Well, we've talked about that every time we have the Boston Red Sox. Altobelli and LaRussa. Every time we see the walking man Eddie Yost coaching third. And I'm sure Pete Rose knows this if he's watching, but Eddie Yost has a higher lifetime on-base percentage than Pete Rose did, but you didn't negotiate contracts with on-base percentage then. Yost one time, I think, had 165 hits, 145 walks in 1 year. And he popped 15, 18, 20 home runs for you also.
I guarantee you 2 things. Pete Rose is watching, and there's not a baseball statistic he doesn't know. He might be the best baseball fan as well as one of the greatest baseball players ever. Strike 1 to Dower.
Joe Altobelli, most of this year, well, in September when they brought a lot of the kids up, he had extra infielders, but he's got just the one extra infielder here, Sakata. Len Sakata can play third, short, or second, but close ball games sometimes that can limit you as far as what you can do in maneuverability with pinch hitters.
The 0-1 got a piece of it. 0-2.
Len Sakata in a ball game this year against Toronto, when Joe Altobelli pinched it for his bottom 3 in the lineup, ran out of players and position players. He ended up catching for the first time in his major league career. Renicky ended up at third. First time he played third base in the majors, and Lowenstein at second. First time he played there in about 6 years.
And Sakata hit a homer to win the game and said afterward, I'd do anything not to have to put the tools of ignorance back on and go out for another inning behind the plate. 0-2 pitch. Misses.
You missed our first ball game, an afternoon game. That was the same inning in which Tippy Martinez came in with Sakata catching. Martinez picked off through 3 Toronto Blue Jays consecutively off first base.
To put that figure in perspective on Dower, 1 strikeout every roughly 19 times at bat. Almost a wild pitch, but Fisk saves it. That is a very fine figure. Dower is annually among the toughest to fan in the major leagues.
Fisk makes a nice play on the sweeping curveball. Prevents Murray and Singleton from advancing. Now, we've talked about stealing signs from second, where the second base runner can peer into the glove. Maybe we'll watch Murray. Hands on hips may mean one thing, hands on the knees may mean another. Crossover step like that is something that some clubs use.
Hit hard but foul.
You cross over left foot over right, maybe the sign for a fastball. You shuffle off not crossing over, maybe a a breaking ball. Most times, because of the sophisticated signs of the switches by catchers, it's a decoy, but it can still get the catcher and pitcher thinking at times.
Two balls, two strikes, 2 on and 1 out. Murray at second, Singleton at first, top half of the 8th, 6-1 Baltimore. Into center field, right center as it winds up. Rudy Law makes the catch. Murray tags, and he's going to go to third. So the O's have runners at the corners with 2 out, and Todd Cruz will have a chance.
Out pops La Russa. Don't know if he's going to talk about if he sunk the ball low and in with not much on it. Ball that Cruz could pull. Cruz has problems with almost anything from the middle of the plate out. Baltimore has 7 base hits.
Singleton is trotting in toward the dugout.
He heard something. He's requesting a pinch runner.
Well, they've already got Ford hobbled and unable to play in game 2. He wouldn't have started tonight probably anyway with the right-hander going, so we don't know what Ford's availability will be the rest of the way. And now Singleton leads.
So whomever comes in for Singleton, the pinch runner becomes a designated hitter.
I think the player they want is out in the bullpen.
The Belly will then pinch hit for Palmer. The thing you got to worry about, and you can get too cute with this, is he probably has not run the bases for a good many years. What you worry about is that he hurts himself. He can become a free agent after this year. He doesn't feel he'll be back in Baltimore. So this may be cute, but it can be dangerous.
It would be fair to describe Palmer, especially at this stage of his career, as injury prone. He has spent some time on the DL.
Well, it's not a bad move, though, because Altobelli doesn't use a player off the bench one time through the lineup. In fact, it's a very smart move. Should he need a pinch hitter if the White Sox come back, he hasn't lost a position player, nor a hitter. The thing is, the chance of an injury, but Palmer is much too smart to take any foolish chances. So there is some strategy that we didn't know about with the DH. It's hard to find a lot of strategy with it.
2 outs, 2 on, and now a ball and 2 strikes to Dempsey.
I'll tell you, Earl Weaver bent that rule a couple of times, had that DH rule changed 2 years ago, I believe, when he used to send pitcher for the next game to the next town. What he would do is he would put him in the DH spot. He wasn't even in the ballpark. Say he'd send Steve Stone from Chicago to New York, where the next game was the next day. Stone wasn't even in the park. Figured if they changed pitchers, the pitcher would get hurt. He didn't lose any hitters. Well, they changed that in a hurry.
Dempsey gets a hold of this one, but pulls it foul. Altobelli's getting a kick out of it, and he can afford to smile. Up 7-1.
Manager of the Year candidate for sure, along with La Russa, Bobby Cox from Toronto. Debris on the field and right field, so a little pause in the action.
It started out as a supercharged atmosphere here tonight. It settled into a quiet acceptance of apparent defeat.
There will be one final charge of electricity, or at least one more, when the White Sox, Julio Cruz is up and we get the Fitzpatrick Lazinski, fans will get turned on again.
And no matter what happens, they'll be right back at him tomorrow. Britt Burns, who threw 4 shutouts this year and came on second half of the season against young Storm Davis.
should it go 5, the managers have already said they'll come back with Hoyt and McGregor.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. And it stays that way.
Dempsey's got to be a little bit tired, I would think, catching that ball game from Boddicker. I think they took a charter after the game and got in about 3 in the morning like the White Sox did. By the time you get your bag, get to the hotel, it's 5, and you try and get a few hours sleep before the sun comes up. You're back out here about 3 in the afternoon. I've been wondering when you see good hitting catchers. Benchwas, Lance Parrish has become, how they do it.
This one is hit very solidly, but Rudy Law is going to track it down. So the Orioles are history in the 8th. They push one more run across and increase their lead to 7-1. That's tonight on NBC.
Is that on after 10 o'clock at night?
I know in your case you can't watch it if it is.
Julio Cruz, former teammate with Seattle, double play combo, is creeping into third base. Todd Cruz. About that, those two guys with the Seattle Ball Club with utility, losing 100 games again this year. Cruz came over, as you said, in the Bernazar trade. Todd Cruz all but released, and each has a chance to be in the World Series. Less than a year removed from playing with a team that's finished in the basement this year. Del Crandall replaced Rene Latchman. Looked at a lot of young kids in September.
Cruz goes down swinging as we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
WMAQ-TV, Chicago.
Bob Costas along with Tony Kubek. There's your story, and it's been Orioles all the way, starting with the 3-run homer in the top half of the first by Eddie Murray.
And Stewart, since relieving Flanagan, who hopefully did not re-injure that knee, has retired 7 in a row.
Rudy Law takes a strike. You know, you mentioned Todd and Julio Cruz each winding up in a situation far more appealing than Seattle. How about Rene Latchman landing on his feet? He goes from a struggling club to a team that'll be a contender, the Brewers.
Capricious nature of people in ownership. Harvey, a favorite last year, manager of the year, Harvey Keene.
That is a fair ball. It hit the bag, and Murray turns it a sparkling play.
And we've got somebody else down the right field line. Rudy Law didn't stumble over the bag, but he may have tried to stop too soon. He did a tumble. You just saw the gifts that Eddie Murray possesses. Look at where he is playing. Ball isn't hit that sharply, but watch what it hits. It scooted over the top of the bag and went down. It didn't bounce out. Not like balls in artificial surface. Stumbled on the foul line. Very embarrassing thing to do. Is this guy an athlete? He has shown the power that he has with about a 440-foot home run. And every time I tell him it gets 10 feet longer, you notice. Stole a base, thought he was sleeping, and just showed his agility at getting that one crossing the foul line.
He showed you why there's a gold glove on his shelf.
That man right there has got to be the leading candidate for the MVP.
In this ball game.
Yeah. Don't you think?
And for the year, as we've mentioned before, but I guess it bears repeating, the fella at the plate right here, Carlton Fisk, is going to get some support for what he did for the White Sox. Ripken and Murray from the Orioles, and Rice with the awesome numbers for the Red Sox.
What he did was protect a lot of base runners out of the 2 spots, give maybe 10, 12 points on the average.
Breaking ball, and he got under it. That was a pitch that he might have handled. Lowenstein has it.
Fisk also, had he been a selfish hitter, may have gotten 100 RBIs.
They go quiet as number 5 man, spot starter.
2-time National League All-Star pitchers on that great staff with the Mets. Gentry, Tom Seaver, and Nolan Ryan for a while. Tug McGraw.
And now with the southpaw on the mound, the switch hitter Shelby bats for the left-handed hitting Bunbury. Top half of the ninth, 7-1 Baltimore. Remember, local news, except out on the West Coast, follows the ball game, and the Tonight Show, and Friday night videos. Koosman has been some postseason pitcher. In league championship play, his record is 1-0 as Shelby fouls it off. And in World Series competition, 3-0. He won 2 games, including the 5th and final in 1969 for the Mets against the Orioles. And he also won one in 1973 against Oakland.
You know, there was a time at the end of last season, and even at the beginning of this season, he was the White Sox steadiest starter. He still throws that kind of fastball. Once in a while, he gets up in the high 80s to set up that slow curveball. He's had some really roller coaster numbers. He won 21 ball games for the Mets in 76, turned around in 77, lost 20 ball games, then went 3-15, went to Minnesota and won 20 again when everybody said he was washed up.
Shelby draws a leadoff walk. And he can run, although it's unlikely in this situation. He's the Orioles' top base stealer with 15.
Kurt Gowdy always used to say of Koosman when he got in the ball game that he's one of the 10 best dressed men in Morris, Minnesota. I think there were 16. So, got Tito Landrum now about to enter the batter's box.
Well, Kurt Gowdy is here tonight working on the radio side along with Ernie Harwell, who's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, voice of the Detroit Tigers. There's Kurt.
Gouds, the old growler. You know, when you say Ernie Harwell in the Hall of Fame and some of the other great broadcasts said him, including Vin Scully, put in that special wing. What about Gowdy? Ooh.
Landrum lofts it to right. Baines has it.
When you look at Gowdy's credentials, working under Red Barber and Al Allen with the Yankees, then moving up to Red Sox, doing him up there, he did probably more World Series than anybody else for NBC. The Rose Bowl, the World Series, All-Star games, NCAA basketball championship. He's already in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
He's quite a collegiate basketball player, wasn't he? Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's Ripken. Singled, struck out, hit by a pitch, fouled out. The attendance tonight, and this has to include standing room, 46,635.
Baltimore was 7 base hits, 5 for extra bases. Dotson got hurt by walks early and a hit batsman. 3 of those 4 scored, as we told you. So perhaps one of the lines or the edges that they talked about before this League Championship Series started, lack of experience. Did it show with Bannister last night? Did it show with Dotson today? They have not pitched within themselves, tried to overthrow, got themselves in trouble.
A called strike, 1-1. Well, coming into the playoffs in the second half of the season, Lamar Hoyt, Rich Dotson, Floyd Bannister combined 42-5. Hoyt got them the win in game 1, but Dotson and Bannister have come up losers. Of course, it should be pointed out that the Baltimore pitching hasn't exactly been anything to complain about. McGregor in game 1 pitched well, but was charged with the defeat. Boddicker absolutely masterful last night. Flanagan, before an injury knocked him out after 5, gave him a good effort tonight. Shelby, who walked, is the runner at first with 1 out. Top half of the ninth, 7-1 Baltimore.
And at this point, Joe Altobelli afforded the luxury of not having to throw Tippy Martinez out there. Rest him another day. He was in game 1.
Ripken goes into right center field with it. Rudy Law in pursuit. Won't get there. Off the wall on the fly. Shelby to third. Stopped by Cal Ripken Sr.
I'll show you that man's power in the opposite field. When he sets up and closes that stance and tries to drive the ball, he led the league in doubles this year.
He had 47 of them, and that established a new Oriole record, breaking the mark held by the Hall of Famer Brooks Robinson.
And 22, as I recall, of Ripken's doubles went to right center field. Ball just came, what, a couple of feet from going out?
La Russa out to talk to Koosman, and maybe to lift him. Let's see what Ripken is now. He was 3 for 8 in the first 2 games. Tonight he's 2 for 4 and was also hit by a pitch. So he's 5 for 12 on the series, and Lamp is throwing but not coming in.
And at this point, it does not appear that Murray's going to get another at-bat. He's homered. He's gotten 2 walks, a 3-run home run in the first because Renicky come out to the on-deck circle. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, whoa. I'm 1 batter ahead. Excuse me. I'm looking at Renicky, and I don't see Murray behind Fisk and Remigan, the umpire.
Renicky's going to bat for Lowenstein next, and he's going to have a chance because they're going to pass Murray intentionally. So, in the box score, Eddie's line's going to read 1 for 2. A home run and a ground out, and then 3 walks following it.
Renicky, who yesterday, ball game in which Moniker tied league championship series record with 14 strikeouts with a shutout. Renicky doubled in the second. Yesterday's ball game, walked in the fourth and scored another run, and a 2-run home run in the sixth to put the game out of the reach, and then walked in the eighth. And a lot of power.
Now La Russa may want Lamp. He's waiting for Renicky to be announced, apparently. And now that Renicky is officially in the game, Koosman's going to be out of it. Third, Ripken at second, and Eddie Murray, who drew the intentional walk, is at first. In the last 4 weeks of the season, the Orioles as a team hit 6 grand slam home runs. All 1.
Infield playing back, looking for the double play, except for Pacharek at first. That 3-6-3 hard to turn. He'll go home, cut off the runner.
That's ball 2.
Lamp, the kind of guy, if you go for that pitch that looks like it's just above the knees, by the time you swing at it, it's about mid-calf and you beat it in the dirt. When he's effective, he gets pretty good low ball hitters out because he keeps throwing it lower and lower and makes them go after bad pitches.
Sitting on the 2-0 is Renicky. Oh, he takes it low, 3-0.
White Sox have given up 7 walks thus far, 2 intentional.
He takes a strike, although he thought he had a walk, and umpires hate that. And the batter runs out of the box.
Orioles doing today what they usually do best. With any team in the American League, taking the base on balls, you throw the hit batsman. What gets those big innings going or keeps them going? Throw a walk in between, don't get caught stealing, stay out of double plays, and somebody pops one or you get an error.
That one is ball 4.
Kind of baseball like this keeps pressure on the defense of the pitcher and catcher at all times.
Tony, let me ask you this. The White Sox are on their way not only to losing, but losing big. Does it make a difference to them psychologically that the turnaround is so quick? An afternoon game tomorrow instead of a night game?
I don't think as much at home as it would on the road. And also when you've got a pitcher who, with one good inning can turn the momentum, if there is such a thing in baseball, right back around. And if this lead stands up, and I'm sure it will with the Orioles bullpen if they have to go to it anymore. Stewart's pitching very, very tough baseball. We count on Brits Burns coming out and shutting them out for a few innings.
St. Louis and Joe Nolan takes a strike. Here's Ripken at third base. He's batting .417 now in the series on 5 for 12.
4 walks and 1 hit batsmen have scored for the Orioles. 5 of 8.
This ball is hit into left center field. Hairston is going back to the track, and it glances off his glove.
Should be there.
What a nightmare for the White Sox. 2 more runs are in. It's 10-1, and runners are at second and third on what I would guess will be ruled an error.
It is not pleasant to get embarrassed in front of a hometown crowd. He just got turned around a little bit. The wind drifted it behind him. See the lights glaring off his glasses. And Jerry Hairston gets an error.
So now Rich Dower, who is hitless in the series, launches one into right center field. The runner tags. Here's the catch and throw by Baines. Close, but Renicky scores standing up. It's 11-1.
You can see how Rudy Law gave way to the better throwing arm and let Harold come. Even though Law was a little closer, Baines went over and tried to throw him out and came close. He's pretty deep right center field.
The Orioles have scored 4 more runs on 1 hit in this inning. A walk to Shelby. After Landrum flied out, Ripken doubled to right center. Murray walked intentionally. Renicky walked quite unintentionally. Nolan aboard, and 2 more runs in on a 2-base error in left field by Hairston, and now a sacrifice fly from Dower. Here's Todd Cruz. Strike 1. Joe Altobelli happier than his expression shows, and even Pat Altobelli, his wife, holds the happiness of the moment inside. As a good baseball wife, she knows that the time to celebrate is not yet.
Well, they awakened the Orioles, obviously. Don't know if any of the brushbacks had anything to do with it, so it'll be up to Britt Burns to try and silence them early tomorrow. Boy, the guy they've got going, Storm Davis, tomorrow. And they said of Dotson early, Davis may have the best raw stuff of anybody on the Orioles staff.
The word we get from the White Sox dugout, Ron Kittle, okay, left the game after being hit on the knee by a Flanagan pitch. He'll play tomorrow. One-two to Cruz. 2-2.
Remember the game we saw Storm Davis pitch last year when on that Friday the doubleheader the Brewers came in and had the lead. Vukovich and Caldwell for the Brewers, and Storm Davis pitched one of the games. He was outstanding on a Friday. The Orioles had to have that game. Of course, they lost it. Palmer got the loss because of Robin Yount on Sunday, but Davis, 2 years out of high school last year, was just outstanding. Great straight change, overpowering fastball, curve, slider, all 4 pitches. There they are. Left-hander Britt Burns. He leads the White Sox team in shutouts, and Storm Davis, nicknamed Cyclone because they say he is a clone of Jim Palmer. And someday they think he'll win a Cy Young Award. Hung on him by Flanagan.
Payoff pitch, struck him out. So Cruz puts the White Sox out of their misery in this 9th inning. But they add 4 more and lead it 11-1. 4 runs on just 1 hit in the inning. Paciorek leads it off against Sammy Stewart. The huge margin by which the Orioles will win this game obscures the fact, but Stewart has been sharp in relief of Flanagan. Tito Landrum comes on in right field and makes a nice running catch. Paciorek retired.
8 walks giving up by White Sox pitchers. 1 hit batsman. The inning you announced at the end of the 9th. 4 runs, 1 base hit. Turn that around. Orioles have not walked any White Sox hitters yet. hit one. That was Kittle in the 4th.
Luzinski 0 for 3 and 1 for 9 in the series. As we discussed earlier, the Miller highlight player of the game for tonight is Eddie Murray of the Baltimore Orioles, and Miller is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Eddie Murray to a very worthy cause, the Special Olympics.
Stewart now has set 10 White Sox hitters down in a row.
This one is sliced foul, and Murray can't quite track it down.
Did you see how far he went out for that ball? There was a ball yesterday that he got caught up in the wind that blew it away from him and fell for a base hit. He has been a big factor in a lot of areas of this ball game today and has become a very, very quiet leader. He'll tell you that he learned from Lee May and Pat Kelly when he was a rookie in the first couple of years. They taught me how to act, how to play, stuck by me when I was...
It's going to be a base hit. For Luzinski, his second of the series. For those of you who keep very close track of such things, in the last inning, on Joe Nolan's ball, which was dropped by Jerry Hairston for a 2-base error, Nolan is not charged with an at-bat. He gets credit for a sacrifice fly and an RBI because it was deep enough so that the runner at third would have scored anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Glad to be of service. Hairston batted for Kittle back in the 6th. This is his second at-bat. He grounded out the first time.
Did you look that up yourself or get that from Night Train again?
Steve Night Train Horn providing the information. Crack statistician. A ball and a strike.
Is Steve a sabermetician too?
Well, now you got to go and define that.
Society of American Baseball Researchers.
Yeah, I'm sure he qualifies.
They've got a formal, you got to pay your $25 to get in.
Here's Murray. Well, he can't turn it. Picked up by Dower. Unbelievable. That's the kind of night it's been for the Orioles. Dower saves Murray an error. Eddie, in his haste to try and turn a 3-6-3 or possibly 3-6-1 with Stewart covering, botched the ball, but Dower comes over, saves the day.
He's mad. You can see his head. Eddie wanted to go 3-6-3 double play. Good play by Dower and a good play by Sammy Stewart getting over there.
So now Baines trying to break his personal 0 for 11 dive.
He's hit 3 balls hard tonight.
He has.
3 balls very hard. Dower turned a double play on a bullet. Todd Cruz made a good play on the third base line. But he's still 0 for 11 in this championship series. Look at
Landrum
that.
right in his tracks is going to take
4
it.
on the butt. Gets nothing.
4 bullets, and Baines is 0 for 12 for the series. Maybe tomorrow will be his day to break out of it, just like tonight was for Eddie Murray.